It's Thursday, folks. Welcome back to Thursday Tier Talk, the show we bring you every Thursday on the Upper Tier podcast out there on YouTube. Subscribe, bell notification, and of course, drop a like on the video. Whether you're enjoying the content or not, support the podcasts that are out there. Joining me as always on a Thursday night, my co-host, not a guest, my co-host, the Dazzler himself. How are we, Darren?
Hanging in there, pal. Hanging in there, yeah. You know yourself. Busy, it's all go, isn't it?
I'd say you were probably a little bit shocked earlier, but that's another story for another time.
Yeah.
We won't get into that. Yeah, but this is Thursday Tier Talk, so we do have a Premier League preview. We do have, especially, we will be chatting about Liverpool versus Man United.
Did we not have a Carabao Cup review, no? Did I miss that? I'm only joking. You did on Monday night. I wasn't here.
You can drop it in, no problem.
Yeah.
We're also going to be talking about the FA Cup quarter-final draw. Dare I say, you probably got the harder draw out of the four, I would imagine, coming up against Fulham, but we'll talk about that in a bit. We also did our combined 11s today for the Liverpool-Man United game, and we didn't show each other ours. But we will pop them up later and we'll compare them. So what we'd ask you in the chat in a little while, if you want to do a combined 11 just for the crack for the Liverpool United game, let us know your combined 11 in the chat and we'll see how it compares to mine and Darren's. We'll also discuss some...
the first person to put Trent Alexander-Arnold in as the right back is getting banned from the channel for life. I just want to say, if anyone does that, you're foolish, because I didn't even do that, and I'm a Liverpool supporter. Yeah, absolutely.
We will discuss some news that's come out this week, and of course we'll drop our bets, especially for Joanne Smith, who was in the comments tonight in the chat, who we know likes a prediction and a bet. Joanne, how are you? Good to see you in there. We
hey, Joanne.
Beat the bookie, say, in the last 15 minutes of the show or so, and
I've done some bets this weekend, Niall.
Oh, good. And just to top it off, our man from Cheap Heat Productions podcast, Morris, is in the chat. Any chat?
Easy now. Arsenal have picked up a result or two, isn't it? Morris is back opening his goal. Easy there now, Morris.
I was listening to Arsenal fans over the last day or so. They're puffing their chest out all of a sudden now.
Are they?
This title, aren't they? It's gone.
Are they banging on the chest and all?
It's gone from a little bit. All the signs are there now. It's ours. It's in the bag, I heard. Joanne says she's good. She maintained my weight this week. Fair play, Joanne. Joanne is on a bit of a cut at the moment and stuff like that. So when she's on Warren's team talk and stuff like that, we discuss recipes and all sorts of stuff. So it's all good.
I was going to say I could do with a fucking cut myself. Jesus Christ.
And we ain't talking hair.
No, although I've only about a week left on that. But anyway.
Morris, we could be in a title race in a few weeks. The hesitancy.
I reckon there'll be 6 points clear on the last day of the season, and Morris will be like, not sure.
It's amazing. It's amazing. If that was me or you now, we'd be going, it's done. We have it. It's done.
Well, I definitely wouldn't be saying it's done. You would, but yeah.
Absolutely. Just to keep you updated as well, El Clasico is going on at the moment. It's 1-0 shock horror to Barcelona, an OG by Militao in the 26th minute. And I just had a look at the quick stats there of the game as well. And funny enough, up till about 5 minutes ago, Barcelona had one shot, and that was the OG that went in. And we're just hearing now, just came through there's a penalty under review, and the penalty has been overturned. So there you go. So Barcelona missing Lewandowski and also missing Pedri, I think, tonight. Is it, or Gavi? One or the other, I think. One of them is out anyway.
They're missing Pedri. They're missing Gavi is playing up top with Torres and Rafinha. Rafinha's been replaced now by Ansu Fati, but there's only like 12 minutes left. Hard to believe the team that we dumped out last week are trumping the boys that you beat you 5-2, isn't it?
It's just madness, isn't it? Ooh. Should that give me hope for a few weeks' time? No, absolutely not. Dare I say?
It gives me lots of hope for Sunday, I have to tell you. Jesus.
Absolutely. Sure. You know, when it's a rivals and it's a big kind of a derby kind of thing and stuff like that, it all goes out the window anyway. But we're
allowed to say rivals, we're not allowed to say derby because it's not a derby. No, we're not. we're not, because it's not a derby.
Fair enough.
City and United's a derby. Everton and Liverpool are a derby. United and Liverpool ain't a derby. They're rivalries.
Shame.
Just have to put that there now, do you know?
No problem. Right, let's get into this Premier League preview. And here we start with Man City versus Newcastle, our lunchtime kickoff on Saturday.
The lunchtime special. City obviously getting back to winning ways last weekend. Good 4-1 win away from home in the at Bournemouth, which was great for them, obviously, to get things back running, because obviously they've had a couple of hiccups over the last few weeks. Still didn't look, dare I say it, very City-like. But obviously, you know, when you can put 4 goals past anyone, it gives you a chance, doesn't it? Newcastle, obviously, poor Newcastle. Gotta say, and I'm not saying this because obviously the game is over and, you know, we've already got the cup in the bag and stuff like that. I was disappointed by Newcastle. I'll
say what you want to say. The whole of their front line is stealing 11. No,
well, I mean, like, I just expected an awful lot more from them, you know. They didn't really put us under the amount of pressure that I would have expected from a team who were going in with the confidence levels that they were going in with. Obviously, with the sale of the club and stuff like that, it's put Newcastle to the fore. This is their big opportunity to win their first trophy in 60 years, and you're just thinking, go and roll the dice, go for absolute gold. Like, why doesn't he start with the boy Callum Wilson and Alexander Isak? If you're in a cup final, go and roll the dice and see what happens. I mean, you go and you play a certain kind of a game, the likelihood is you're not going to win, and that's what happened. But if you go and if you press and if you get in the front foot from the word go and really create chances and create a bit of havoc and try and get in around guys, I just thought it was miles off where I would have wanted them to be if I was a Newcastle fan, you know?
Yeah, it was kind of like their league position. Yeah, it was like their league position kind of flattered them as well. When you see where they are in the league and how well they've done.
Absolutely.
Coming into this final, they'd had a number of draws and lucky for a number of draws at times. And then we beat them up there in St. James's as well, which wasn't a great result for them either coming into it.
Yeah.
But do you know what I looked at? I looked at, in the first 5 minutes, I looked at them, and do you know what it said to me? They're not up for it at all. They weren't up for it at all.
No, they I suppose, like, they kind of flattered to deceive a little bit. They looked like there was a lot of energy about them, but without an awful lot of substance. And I just thought, this might be okay. And then obviously you nick the first goal and you're thinking, right, we're going the right. As soon as the second one went in, that was game over. That they were never, whatever about coming back from 1 and getting a full hold in the game and stuff like that. From 2, they, you know, and like, if we left them here till August trying to get a goal there at the weekend, they wouldn't have got one. They were very poor going forward. I think there's definitely, you know, changes needed if they're to maintain a top 4 push next season. That squad has to change. There's guys that have to step out of the play. And, like, listen, everybody needs a squad. So this is important. We're not saying go and sell all your players. They've got some good players. They've got some tidy players. They're a tidy team. If I'm pushing for top 4, is Joe Linton getting in my midfield? I'm not 100% sure, right? I'm not 100% sure. Is Callum Wilson my starting number 9 week to week?
100% not. 100% not.
Right, and I'll be honest, I like the boy Callum Wilson, but I really like the boy Alexander Isak. And when he comes on, I know he's had fitness issues and he's had injuries and stuff like that, but I feel like when he comes on, they just look a bit sharper. I thought St. Maximin at times was very, very good, but to a point. And then when it came to the crunch of put the ball in or get the effort on target, he just didn't manage to. Because, you know, again, he toiled, he got it in and around Diogo Dalot. He chopped inside, he chopped outside, and I'm just like, I just want some quality with the ball. And I just want some quality efforts on goal. And he just couldn't do it, you know?
Do you know what I thought about watching St. Maximin the other day? And it came true to me and I smiled watching it. I actually meant to message on it, actually. But you know your description of Adama Traore?
Yeah.
100% mirror image. Newcastle's Adama Traore.
On the opposite side. Yeah. So one on the left and one on the right.
Yeah. And that's how I summed it up. They never looked at any stage like they had the belief to go and score or win a game. Callum Wilson, to be honest with you, I think was atrocious on the day. And it actually got me thinking, how did that boy end up in a squad in Qatar? That's, you know what I mean? Like, I was just thinking, how did is this where England as a squad was at and stuff like that? No, they were absolutely atrocious. You know what I mean? And even, funny enough, even Dan Burn, which I was shocked at now, wasn't his best game at all by any stretch. He was all over the place.
No, it wasn't. But I think, obviously, for somebody like Dan Burn, that's a huge occasion. Dan's obviously from Newcastle himself. He's born and bred Geordie. That's a huge, huge, huge monkey on your back going into the game like that. And it's very easy to have, a poor game. And that's what looked like happened. I have to say, I thought Anthony was quite good up against him.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of United fans that are starting to warm to Anthony. Not necessarily, he still hasn't got the numbers we want from him yet. But the lad's work rate for a right-sided forward is phenomenal. He's back and forth, he's back and forth, he's back and forth. Now, again, he needs to add a little bit. He does score goals. He needs to create a couple more and stuff like that. But I know United fans are definitely starting to warm to him a little bit. That was a tough one for Bourne, but I thought, I got to be honest, like, there was just, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said belief. They didn't look like they believed that they could go and win that game. And that might have something to do with the form they're in, but it might also have something to do with the form we're in. They might have looked at us beat Barcelona and go, what fucking chance have we got? Do you know what I mean? And that's what we've done right rather than what they've done wrong, but that's down to Eddie Howe to address as well.
Yeah, that could be part of it, but my thinking on it was these boys may never get to a final again. Get out there and embrace it. Have a go. And look, if you're going to get beaten 2-0, you may as well get beaten 5-0 in a final. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Get out there and have a go. Push forward, press. Put a little bit of belief out there and have a go. The minute they scored. And the thing about it as well, I was happy for Loris Karius because he had an okay game. He made a few decent saves.
You know what? I was just going to say, the guy who looked like he might be the weak link going into this, he made a really, really good save from Wout Weghorst. It was arrowing into the top corner. And he made a really good save late on as well. I can't think who it was from. Might have been from Marcus Rashford. So. Obviously, the deflection kills him a little bit. And nobody stopping the first one. The ball in from Luke Shaw is terrific. It's a good header. But no, I think he acquitted himself very, very well on Sunday, and possibly through his hat in the ring to get a little more of a regular spot at Newcastle and in game time behind possibly Nick Pope and stuff like that. Yeah. Back to City, I suppose. Yeah, I would agree with what Morris has just said there. I think City will do this. I think there's goals there for City. I'd probably say City 3-1. And only because I think Newcastle will get one just because City aren't as good as we are at the back. So I'm going to go City 3-1.
There's a statement. Nice one. Yeah, not too bad. I think City, they're going to show some strength now coming into the latter stage of the season. Our resident ref is in the comments tonight. Evening, lads. There ain't no party like an upper tier party. Niall Dazzler, you look great. Cheers, Marco. Joanne's... He missed
all the close-ups.
Yeah, he missed all the close-ups big time. But the less said about that, the better. He missed our launch of our OnlyFans page nearly.
He did, yeah.
Joanne's back in the comments. She reckons Newcastle 2-1 against City. Interesting.
But she reckoned 3 mental calls last week as well, and they didn't happen either, if I right remember.
Potentially. Here's a good one for you now, right? We got Arsenal versus Bournemouth. I won't show you. We'll touch on Joanne's prediction in a minute, but what you're thinking on this? This Arsenal all over it, isn't it?
Yeah, Arsenal were very, very, very good last night at Everton, at home against Everton. Really, really, really good. Didn't show any signs of nerves. Went out and took the game by the scruff of the neck. I thought obviously the change when they brought off Jorginho and brought on Thomas Partey again settled them down a little bit. I thought Trossard did very well again as a false 9. Bukayo Saka, really, really good game. Odegaard had a decent game. Martinelli as well. They were superb. They really were. And this has Arsenal written all over to me. I'll be looking at how many Arsenal players I can get into my fantasy football team for the weekend, because I think they'll do Bournemouth up like a kipper, if I'm honest.
Joanne reckons 6-0.
Yeah, like
probably not
it
a million
could happen.
miles away.
No. It could. Listen, you know what the league is like. Somebody comes out and has a great day, a goalkeeper or a couple of centre backs, and all of a sudden it's 2-0. But if the boys at Bournemouth aren't at it, and if Arsenal get the ball rolling the way they did last night, yeah, it might not be far away. I'll say 3. I'll say 3-0.
I'll say 3. Yeah, good shout.
Yeah.
Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace.
Yeah, obviously, Villa didn't have a game last week. Sorry, they did. Villa had a good win last week, actually. They were home. They were away against Everton. Villa had a really, really good win on the road. I think Unai Emery would have been delighted with that. The clean sheet as much as anything, because we know Emery likes clean sheets, and that's how he goes about winning games, 1-0s, 2-0s, picks up points on the road and stuff like that. It was a big result for Villa last week because they'd had a couple of hiccups and a couple of bumps in the road. It was a really good result for them. Palace, again, not a bad result, I suppose. 0-0 at home at Selhurst Park against Liverpool. It was a very damp squib of a game, wasn't it?
Horrible.
It wasn't end to end. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't sexy football. It was something derived from that. I think Palace need to pick up results here, because I think they're dangerously close to that bottom 3. They're not too good to go down. Their big issue isn't necessarily keeping clean sheets. Their big issue is scoring goals. The boys, Jean-Philippe Mateta and Odison Edouard, they've let them down massively this season. They've been back, putting a huge amount of pressure on Wilfred Zaha to have games. And then while Will's not been there, it's been down to Michael Elise and Eberechi Eze, who have done very, very well. The boy Elise, I think we spoke about it last week, he's a serious footballer. But I think it's very difficult for lads like Eze and Elise to do it every week. And you need the Zaha beside you. I think Palace are gonna struggle at Villa Park the weekend, because I don't think Villa are gonna cough up loads of chances, and I think Palace are one of those teams that need 3 or 4 in order to take 1 or 2. I think Villa will create enough here, and I think Villa will nick this. And I'm going to go the same score as last weekend, which is Villa 2, Palace 0.
Villa 2, Palace 0. Joanne's in with her prediction 3-0 to the Villa.
There you go.
Not too bad. Brighton West Ham.
Brighton West Ham. Yeah, obviously, West Ham had a great win last weekend. Very good win at home, 4-0 against Forest, which was probably a turn up for the books, if we're honest. Obviously they've been in reasonable form, but without picking up the wins that they needed. But they went all out and put Forest to the sword. I think David Moyes would have been very happy, and I think after probably 70 minutes last night, he'd have probably been still happy enough, 1-0 up, and things were going well enough. United obviously started to apply a bit of pressure then, and managed to nick a couple of late goals and put that kind of a gloss on the game. But it wasn't as glossy as that. West Ham were in the game for long periods and stuff like that. I think Brighton had the free week last week, and they didn't have a league game. And Brighton obviously playing very, very well. The boy Ferguson picked up another goal there midweek, didn't he, in the FA Cup? Yeah. He's probably, again, somebody that guys are going to look at for their fantasy football teams and stuff like that, because he's cheap as chips in there. He's great come off the bench, especially if you haven't used your bench boost yet. You can get somebody on it like that for 4.5 million, and he might get a couple of goals for you. I think this will be tough for West Ham. I think Brighton will be very, very similar to United. They'll be comfortable in possession of the ball. They'll create chances, and I think West Ham tend to cough up too many chances, and that's the problem. I'm going to go Brighton 2, West Ham 1.
Joanne's going for a 2-2 draw, expects it to be tight. I think we expected the Forest game last week to be tight as well, didn't we? And they kind of blew
Absolutely, we did. Yeah, we sure did. I couldn't believe West Ham took off the way they did now. It was a real turn up, and they, in fairness to them, like they put Forest to the sword, which a lot of teams have struggled to do this season,
Refs back in the comments again. They haven't been in this position in a long time, with so good in the league and getting to a final. It's like they ran out of ideas. Yeah, and Mark, not only that, this is Newcastle, obviously, they'd ran out of ideas as well, even prior to the final, like the defeat against us wasn't a great performance by any stretch from them either. And they had, as we said, a number of draws. Even the game, I think, against Bournemouth, wasn't it, when they drew? And they never deserved a draw in that game. Solanke had a couple of chances there to put them to the sword and didn't take them. And Bournemouth actually came out disappointed not to get the win against Newcastle. So
absolutely.
It wasn't the ideal preparation there. Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Here's one no doubt you'll enjoy. Chelsea Leeds. Oh, before we move on to that, what did you make the Serbi being linked with the Chelsea job? I don't know if you read that during the week.
I didn't read that.
Yeah,
I didn't read that. It's not it's not something I would take much notice of, if I'm honest. If things don't work out for Graham Potter at Chelsea, you can absolutely bet it won't be Roberto De Zerbi that goes in there.
Yeah, well, I haven't looked at the league table, the updated one, but I don't know why you'd leave the team in 7th to join the league, leading the team in 10th.
Yeah, it's absolutely not happening. It's absolutely not happening. That's ludicrous.
Yeah, Chelsea Leeds. Big game for both teams. Massive.
Huge, massive game. Leeds are just out of the bottom 3 on, I think there's a goal or there's a point in it maybe or something like that, but there's 3 below Leeds at the minute. Chelsea haven't been good, but if I wanted a game to help me get back to winning ways, Leeds would be right at the top of my list. They'd be right at the top of my list of teams I would want to face because they cough up chances. And Chelsea need a couple of chances at the minute to get goals in, and that's where they've been struggling. They've ticked over with some reasonable performances, and they've had a couple of clean sheets here and there, but their big issue for Chelsea has been putting the ball in the back of the net. I think Leeds will give them enough chances and will give them enough mistakes so that Chelsea can do it. I know obviously Spurs put in a good performance at the weekend against Chelsea, but I think Chelsea will beat Leeds this weekend. I really do. Now, I don't necessarily think it'll be a landslide, but I think they'll do it 2-1.
John Watkins 3-0 to Leeds. That's a big shout, isn't it, at Stamford Bridge? That must be massive odds, Joanne, I'd say. Massive odds. Wouldn't be too upset by it, though.
Listen, would we take it? Absolutely. But is it going to happen? I'd say it's a little more unlikely than.
I'm going to check in with you here now before we move on to our next fixture. Graham Potter, thoughts another week on? Still the same, drifting a little bit?
Still the same. No, I don't think he's necessarily drifting. Spurs can beat anyone on any given day for my money. I've got to be honest. We've seen them beat United. They've beaten City, a number of times. Spurs are a real Jekyll and Hyde side. They go out and put in a great performance like the weekend and beat Chelsea and stuff like that, and then they go out last night and lose to Sheffield United. There's no level of consistency there for me at the minute. And that Tottenham squad, it still needs huge work to it. There's diamonds obviously all over the pitch, and then there's duds everywhere else, and you just look at it and go, the difference between the top of what's at Spurs and what's at the bottom, the gap is too wide. You've got Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, maybe the boy Kulusevski, that are real footballers, really good footballers, 8s, 9s out of 10s. And then you look at other parts of the pitch and you see the boy Emerson Royale and then the keeper Foster or Hugo Lloris and, the centre backs. And it's just like, are these lads playing Sunday League? It's abysmal at times. It really is. But for Chelsea, I think, this is still early days under Potter. I think, again, for me, I've seen some performances from Chelsea where I thought they were unlucky not to get a victory here or there. And that would make it look and feel a little bit easier. And that's all they need. They need a result or two. I think Chelsea will beat Leeds this weekend. And I think that'll lift a little bit of pressure and give them a little bit of hope going into the game against Dortmund next week. That's what I'd expect. Yeah, that's the big one.
To me, the Dortmund game could be the trigger puller, That's what I think anyway.
You see, again, when I look at the Dortmund game, the first thing I say is, okay, like, is it possible for Dortmund to beat you even if you're playing well? I think it is, because they're a good team. You know, they've got good players. Now, they're not a team that you would expect to go out and steamroller. That doesn't happen to them. You know, they're a good side. They're well organised. They've got good players all over the park. The boy Jude Bellingham as well, obviously. So, like, it's tough then to pull the trigger after a game like Dortmund, because Dortmund are always going to give you a game. Like, I would see it happening much quicker if Leeds thumped them 3-0 the weekend.
I think probably with the Dortmund game, I think because if they lose or go out, I mean, they could draw and still go out, aren't they? Because I think Dortmund are 1-0 up, aren't they, from the first
Dortmund are 1-0 up, yeah, that's right.
So the thing I see there is, one, you've crashed out of the Champions League, and two, you haven't got a bull's chance of getting top four. So there's a huge dilemma there with the investment that's got in, the investment that he's laying down there. And I know it's early stage in terms of Bowley Chelsea, if you like. But with the money that's spent, the players that have come in, and I know me and you are of the opinion there's imbalance there. It's not quite Potter's side. There's a lot of stuff there to talk about. But I just think that they're building for a Champions League situation. They're building to be at the top table of football and stuff like that. And the real problem with that as well is, if it's a situation where you guys get bought out by Qatar, if it's a situation where Newcastle obviously look at their team and go, you know, we need 4 or 5 real top quality players in here, not what we're carrying. You know, Arsenal are probably going to strengthen in the summer, especially if they land the title. They'll have the riches to do that and the backing. No doubt you are going to bring in a few more players. I'd be surprised if you didn't. There was a lot of talk going around about whether Weghorst or Sabitzer should be getting contracts. Some are saying yes, some are saying no, that they maybe not be at the level that you want. You want to be at a bigger level and stuff like that. City are obviously going to strengthen as well. There's issues there as well. So and we'll definitely strengthen in the summer, because we're an absolute washout when you look at some of the players that are there. So getting top 4 next season is going to be really, really tough and really, really competitive.
Well, I mean, every season it is, you know, like you're looking at this season, there's a scrap on for places to minute. You'd have to include Brighton in that, with Newcastle, with Spurs, with Liverpool, because if Brighton keep winning games, they're going to be close enough point-wise by the end of the season. And albeit you don't look at them as one of the traditional bigger teams, but with investment again in the summer, it makes Champions League so much more difficult. Teams are having to invest now to guarantee top 4 rather than to even get into a title race, which, you know, it can be tough for fans to stomach even. Because, you know, when you go out and you spend 150, 200 million euro, you don't want to be told we're only doing this to get top 4. That's a tough pill to swallow, you know.
Yeah.
Really is. But the name of the game is to get into that Champions League and make sure you're sitting at the top table. Because when you're at the top table, you know, you get fed you get them good meals, those nice chunky meals, and you know, you get those, you know, you get somebody looking across the table with you playing footy at you, but they're looking at you in the eye saying, things aren't working out here in Germany. I can come over here and do a job for you, blah blah blah. That's, you got to be in it to win it, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And see, that's where I'm really coming from. And I know also, as we spoke about, there is some clauses in the termination contract with Graham Potter in relation to the Champions League.
The one thing I would say about Chelsea is right now that, you know, and I've heard obviously that they like the way things have worked under Arteta at Arsenal, where it was given time. Because don't forget, every Arsenal fan and his dog wanted Mikel Arteta gone. Right? He's not good enough. He's this, he's that, he's a brand new hat. People called for his head everywhere. You know, he doesn't know what he's doing, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden the tide started to turn where they pick up a few results. And now, you know, there would have to be very, very few Arsenal fans now who would say, Mikel Arteta, I want them gone. Now, I know there's still a couple of them, but that says a little more about them than it does
Mikel
Arteta, right?
It could change in the next 8 weeks, though. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, but I mean, if Arsenal finish second, does that mean Mikel Arteta did a bad job?
Not for me or you. Not for me or you.
Right, so that's because we live in the real world.
Yeah.
Right, so that's the issue. People need to bang their heads off a fucking wall if they have to try and get themselves around to.
But we are talking about the most impatient club and fan base in the planet when we talk about Chelsea. Let's be honest here.
Well, I mean, the history there has been under Roman. That's where the impatience came from. Bowley's not the same sort of. He's not necessarily the same sort of breed, you know. And we haven't seen what he is yet. We know he obviously likes to dabble in the transfer market, but we haven't seen what he likes to do with managers. I'd love to see him give Potter time and give it 18 months and see where he is then, and then reassess it and go, okay, what's the squad look like? Because don't forget, this summer at Chelsea is going to be an absolute wholesale, because there's no possible way, when they have almost 50 plus senior players in the summer, that this is maintainable. They're going to have to start clearing the decks. They're going to have to get money in to balance the books. And then they're going to look and say, okay, well, the squad looks well in this area, in this area. It doesn't look well here and here. We need to make decisions here and here and stuff like that. So there's a huge build on at Chelsea. I get fans don't like to wait. You know, I get that. I understand that completely. It's very difficult, you know. But at times, you have to go through a little bit to get to the promised land, and it can make it, you know, the journey can make the destination all that sweeter.
Yeah, I know. I feel that way this season. Don't worry. Let's kick on and get this previews done. Wolves versus Tottenham.
Yeah. I'd say most people are going to be surprised that I'm actually going Tottenham here. I think Tottenham will come out at the weekend and they'll be different. I think this is what happens with them. You know, I think they're a very hard team to call how the results are going to go, because obviously they go and beat Chelsea 2-0 and then they lose 1-0 to Sheffield United. I think Spurs will get over the line the weekend. Again, I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be, you know, there'll be goals. I'm going to say 3-1 Tottenham.
Yeah, I think it'll be tighter. I don't know. I think Wolves at Molineux was a different thing, you know. I mean, if you look at them even last night against us, they didn't look any great shakes, really. But then when you look at them when they're back home, they seem to be a different prospect on their own side, you know. But
I think just at times that plays into Spurs' hand.
Yeah.
You know, because I think Kane and Son and Kulusevski want to play on the counter-attack like that and play that kind of fast-paced football when teams have kind of pushed higher up the pitch and there's space available in areas and stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to stick to Spurs. I'm going to say 3-1, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was only the 2.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe a draw. Southampton, Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester obviously on the back of a massive defeat in the FA Cup. I don't think Brendan Rodgers has covered himself in glory there at all. You know, home against Blackburn, you've really got to be going out and getting that job done and getting to that quarter final. Because don't forget, Leicester were FA Cup winners only 2 seasons ago. You know, so if they get to the quarter final, some of those lads know how to do it, and Leicester on their day can be a very, very good side. We've seen that at times. Yeah. They turned over Spurs and Villa recently. I don't think they'll have any issue with Southampton. I will say that though, and I think they'll get up for this performance. I think Leicester will do this. I think, you know, you'll see our boys Kelechi Iheanacho and Harvey Barnes and James Maddison and stuff like that really come to the fore. And
that's if Maddison is there. He might still be out, Maddison. He's huge.
So I read earlier that I think he's going to be fit not long before he come on. But I still think, even I love the boy Barnes. I think Harvey Barnes is a smashing footballer. And I think Iheanacho's very, very good as well. I think he's very underrated at times. I'm going to go Leicester here. I'm going to go Leicester 2-1.
Yeah, I think it's another. Joanne's going with 2-0 to Southampton. I think it's going to be another miserable draw, to be honest. Forest Everton.
Yeah, this is I suppose a big game right now for Forest. Obviously, last weekend going out and getting smashed the way they did at West Ham. They're back now at the City Ground. They've been very, very good there all season. Everton have lost their last 2 games, 2-0 at home to Villa and 4-0 away at Arsenal. They're shipping goals and they're not scoring. I don't see anything other than the Forest win here. I think Joanne's pretty close to the mark with her 2-0. And I'll go that as well. Okay,
we'll skip obviously the Liverpool Man United one because we are going to have a chat about it. So we go to Monday night, which is Brentford Fulham. This is kind of a cool Monday night match, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a bad Monday night game actually. Obviously Fulham again, a good point last weekend home against Wolves, and then, you know, a good win in the FA Cup midweek as well. So Fulham are still rolling. I think Brentford are obviously going to be on the back foot a little bit with all that's coming out with the minute with Ivan Toney and stuff like that. I think that's difficult to deal with, whether he plays, whether he doesn't play. I think he'd like to still play, but I think that's going to be up to Thomas Frank to say whether he thinks he's in the right frame of mind to continue.
Yeah. Dare I say, shocking conduct by the FA as well. Shocking conduct by the FA.
Yeah, listen, does it shock you though? Because if it does, you're not watching the right game.
Yeah, but I just think it's disgraceful to be leaking that stuff out, especially when the boy was told about the confidentiality of. Now everyone under the sun knows about it. You know what I mean?
But I mean, I hear now he's gonna ask for a trial on the leaked information, because when information is leaked like that, it stops him having a fair trial going forward. So the FA, the FA might have damaged their own case here. And the ban that looked like it might have been 6 months might now only be 3, because of how Dave dropped the ball on things. Because I would imagine Tony's going to look at this and say, well, listen, I'm getting my lawyers involved now, and I'm going to fight fire with fire, because I feel like you guys have dropped the ball equally as much as I have here, and this could help my case, duly. I suppose Brentford didn't have a game last weekend. It's kind of, with Brentford, you're just looking week to week. Some of the performances have been very, very good. Others have maybe just haven't reached the heights you would have expected. But I think this has draw written all over it, if I'm honest. I think this has 1-1 written all over it. It's probably the one game of the weekend where I look at and think, draw. I don't see lots of draws this weekend. I see lots of wins. But I think this game looks like a draw for me, and I'm going to go 1-1.
Cool. Let's take some comments, and then we'll get into talking about the big game on Sunday. Ace was in the comments, looking forward to Sunday for AEW Revolution pay-per-view. You must be the only one, because if you go onto the AEW website, even there's barely any information on about their big pay-per-view. It's absolutely madness, bar the link to buy tickets. Morris is in with his combined 11. Do you want to see Morris's combined 11 as we move into the game, or will I hold it back for a minute?
No, go on, sure. Listen, throw it out there.
Heaton,
Trent, Maguire,
Jones, Milner, Ox, McTominay, Fred, Van de Beek, Viors, and Martial. I don't know why Fred's in there. Fred's doing good at the moment, to be honest.
Fred's a fucking hero. Always has been.
Absolutely. And Morris in. Jose Mourinho linked. What was you making of that? Mourinho linked with a return to Chelsea? That'd be shocking, wouldn't it?
Be shocking for Chelsea. Don't forget, he's anti-football. Nobody wants that. Nobody. Leave him in Italy. It's that shit goes down there. Roma winning 1-0 every week is a fucking absolute treat for those
ultras. Getting sent off every second week as well.
Having murder with every official in the fucking, the left-hand side of Italy. Like, cop on, Jose, will you?
Morris reckons a handy win for Liam Cooper's army against Chelsea.
Jesus.
And our man Henry Ray Baker channel is in. Evening, Niall and chat. How are you, Henry? Hope you're doing well, my man. And
is Henry related to Billy Ray Cyrus or anything?
Henry Ray Baker.
Billy Ray, so no?
No,
thought I'd throw it out there.
So. Yeah, absolutely. Henry, let us know as well. Did you hit the 80 subs last night on the back of the show? And Joanne back in Chelsea or shit? Yeah, they are.
I concur, Joanne. I concur.
Yeah, absolutely. All the pieces there to be good, though. 15 years and 6 days since Spurs won a trophy. Good Lord. Good Lord. And Henry, and still counting cheap. Yeah, absolutely. And Stevie Stubbs is in. How are we, Steve? How are you? I was on the show earlier. I was checking out the show earlier with John. They do a Premier League prediction show. It's pretty cool. Big up, mate. Keep smashing it. Cheers, pal. And Henry, hi, Steve. And Steve's back in. Hi, Henry. Check out Statman Stubbs' channel as well. Excellent for that Premier League prediction skill. I'm okay, Noel. I'm at 85 at the moment, firing speedy to 90. Brilliant stuff. That's up 6, is it, from last night? Last night, I think you were on 79. Fair play. Great stuff. Right, let's talk about the big game on Sunday. A lot of different layers to this one. For you guys, it's going to keeping you within that touching distance of potentially a title race and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For us, you could really dent our aspirations at a top 4. So we need a big result as well. Safe to say we're playing somewhat better than we were. We have had 4 clean sheets now in the Premier League, and we've picked up 10 points out of 12. Bar the Palace one would have been disappointing and kind of flat, and there's always a fear that that's what can come back. But it's at Anfield. Crowd should be boisterous. You guys are playing really, really well. You don't look like dropping many points or losing. You have a kind of a steely way of getting back into games as well at the moment, which is always great to see. Your team perform that way and have that kind of backbone. Give me your quick thoughts on the game.
Yeah, so like this is obviously, these are the 2 games we mark down on my calendar every year. Liverpool United. And they're the 2 biggest games in English football. And I'll argue that with anybody. This is the biggest rivalry in England. And they're the 2 biggest teams in England. With the 2 biggest support bases as well, So this for me is a huge game. Regardless of where Liverpool are or where United are in the table, this is still the biggest game in English football. Lots of people will try and make you believe that the big game in English football will be City versus Arsenal in a couple of weeks. Will it? Fuck. It'll be watched by about 26 people. And most of them receive benefit for some kind of fucking illness or something because they're fucking retarded. So, absolutely, this is the big one. This is the big game at Anfield. It's always electric. Absolutely electric. Again, doesn't matter where teams are in the table. Liverpool have been way down the league table and absolutely smashed us at Anfield over the years, and we've done it to them as well, So anything can happen on the day. It's all about who turns up, who puts out that first couple of tackles and really sets the tone for the day. Like you can usually tell within the first 10, 15 minutes how things are going to go for your team. And it's off the back of a tackle or, winning a header and a guy getting in someone's face and stuff like that. And that's how we see it. I think it's going to be really, really tough. It's the one place I love going to Anfield because I think, as I've said before, it's a magical stadium and they're the biggest club along with United in England and stuff like that. But it's the one place I don't like going because there's always a little bit of trepidation there that if they turn up, we could be in trouble,
Yeah, there's always that kind of nervousness within the fan base. I mean, when you talk about the banter and stuff like that, yourself from growing up and watching this, and you'd go into school on the Monday or you'd go into work on the Monday and stuff like that. Yeah. And there'd be dogs abuse either way, or not go in yet.
Or not.
Maybe. Absolutely, or a day off and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, this is a mad game for so many reasons on Sunday. And as you said, it will be watched by everyone.
Everyone.
A man and a woman and a child. So yeah, absolutely massive. Let's take some comments first. Joanne reckons it's going to be another 16 years wait for a trophy at Spurs.
Possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark is back in. Daz, are you looking forward to tomorrow? What's tomorrow?
I'm sure there's a punchline coming somewhere.
There's something coming here, isn't there? Henry Kane will be using a Zimmer frame to score by then, Joanne. Kane will be lucky if he's still there next season. Acer's back in. April 1st, massive day. Man City versus Liverpool and WrestleMania 39 night 1. Yeah, absolutely. And Cheap Pete back in with his other combined 11. Alisson, Dalot, Varane, Virgil van Dijk, Malacia, Casemiro, Fabinho, Bruno, Salah, Nunes, Rashford is my real team. So we knew that, Morris. We knew that. And Marco's back in because every day you get better looking. It was coming, wasn't it?
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
Every single time. Mark, you're in the chat there. Let us know your combined 11 for Sunday. Let us know what you think your combined 11 is, and when you pop it in there, then we'll have a look at ours.
I reckon Marky comes pretty close to my one.
Well, we see that's what I want to see because I want to compare it then back to the boys and see because just to preface this, me and you are not a million miles away. Not a million miles away, funny enough. Absolutely not.
Okay. I think, listen, there's certain positions on that. Like the front three. The front three for me was nailed on. Right? It was absolutely nailed on.
Yeah. The only thing I did, it was for me as well. The only thing I did, not to give it away, is I just changed the position slightly. That's all.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But the mix is pretty much the same. And I think you can argue back and forth on it, but I just think in terms of just some stats here so far going forward. I mean, obviously Rashford has been a revelation for you. The bounce back from that man compared to last season has been phenomenal. Mo Salah has kind of been, he's putting up the numbers, but kind of inconsistent.
Salah's performance has been way off what Liverpool need him to be. As you say, he's got a couple of goals and he's got assists and stuff like that and goal involvement. But his performances week to week are miles off what Liverpool need them to be in order for them to be in a race.
Yeah, like it's mad when you look at that top 6 bracket there. You would think there's nothing to kind of split them. But then what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at the drop-off in Trent and the drop-off in Robertson in terms of what they
I just glanced down there, and I just got to Robertson and Trent and like 9 goal involvements by March between them is more, when you think of how important the fullback positions are in Klopp's system and how he wants to play, those numbers are miles off.
Those boys are normally in double digits individually by Christmas. You know, so it's been a massive drop off. Acers saying Darren praying for Henderson to start.
Am, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And Henry's in. It is going to be Rashford versus Salah Sunday. It could be, but you know something? Sometimes when you look at these games and you're going into them and you think, okay, Salah got his goal last night and stuff like that. Rashford's on fire at the moment, playing really, really well. Sometimes you go into a game like this and they both get negated because maybe a Garnacho comes to the forefront or a Stefan Bietic or something like that. Something comes out of the woodwork that you wouldn't expect and stuff like that, you know. So should be interesting. And Henry says, hi, Dazzler. Big up, Henry.
Hey, Henry.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I thought we'd look at that. So will we bring up our combined 11s and we'll have a go. We'll have a chat about them and stuff like that. So you sent me yours stuff. Yours is on this side here. Yours is on the left and mine is on the
Mine's on the left,
Yeah, mine has the text above it if you like. So we both went with David De Gea. I don't think there's any argument there. Look, I can tell you now, I think Alisson is an unbelievable keeper. There's no doubt about it.
The way, as I will, because for the last couple of years, he's probably been, you know, if not one of the best goalkeepers in the world
on the planet.
But again, like Trent and like Robertson, I think the drop off this season has been massive, and that's why I have to hate him.
And what I would say there, the drop off from him has not necessarily been because of him. I know at times he has made glaring mistakes and stuff like that, but I don't think the drop. Like I think in a lot of games for us this season, he's actually been our man of the match. So that tells you a lot. And there's only so much you can keep.
Yeah, and listen, don't forget that when United were struggling week to week, it was David De Gea who was man of the match, who kept us in games.
You know, the parallels between the two of us are amazing, aren't we? It's like we've nearly swapped kind of thing, isn't it? When you think about it, like when you go and you look and you analyze it and stuff like that.
We're very close,
Yeah. So let's go through then the back line. You went with Wan-Bissaka, Virgil, Lisandro Martinez, and Shaw. I pretty much went the same, except I had Dalot in there instead of Wan-Bissaka.
So again, if I look at, obviously we'll talk later on, but there was certain players that were nailed down. Van Dijk, Martinez, and Shaw for me were nailed down. They weren't. There was no conversation for them. Casemiro and Fernandes nailed on. No conversation. That's 5. The 3 lads up top. Again, that's 8.
In whatever combination. In whatever
right. So listen, Rashford for me plays better coming from the left hand side. And I would have Nunez then as a bit more of an attacking threat because obviously he's a little bit bigger and a bit more physical through the middle. So that's where I would have gone with it. But I mean, for me, the only 3 real decisions I had was the keeper, the right back, and then the third midfielder. That was when I looked at it. Because in my head I went, boom, 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 boom. And then I looked at it. So I looked, obviously, our options at right back were Trent, Dalot, and Wan-Bissaka. Anyone that listens to this podcast knows it was never, ever going to be Trent. And then for me, it was down to Dalot or Wan-Bissaka. Now, I got to be honest, if you would have asked me this in early November, just before the World Cup kicked off, I'd have said Diogo Dalot every time. But I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka has been unbelievable since the World Cup for Man United. He's been a huge, huge plus. I think in January, obviously, the talk was we were possibly going to look to bring in a right back and let Wan-Bissaka leave the club. And then obviously he played a couple of games. And all of a sudden, he started to grow in confidence and he started to build. And then you could see Ten Hag getting behind him and saying, "Come on, you can keep doing it. You can get better." And every week he just kept churning out the performances. On Sunday, Dalot got the early booking and then he brought Wan-Bissaka on. I just thought he just shored it up. It was just like, sorry, we're closed for business. I just thought when he came on, he was excellent. Defensively of the three, he's the best player. And if I'm going into a Liverpool United game, I know my defenders are going to be busy, and that's why I went with him.
Yeah. The reason why I thought you went with Wan-Bissaka when I looked at it was more because of his defensive duty and stuff like that. Probably matches up better to Núñez. And that was kind of my thinking on it, really, more so. I think Dalot going forward, I think gives you that much more, I think, than Wan-Bissaka. But I think the negation of Núñez is really, really important in terms of his energy and how he lifts the team with the way he plays. So if he can negate that, we tend to play quite flat. He kind of lifts that energy around the whole team with those runs and stuff like that. I presume Mark is the same. Mark's gone in here as well. We'll take Morris first, though. Morris is going, thoughts on Phil Jones being a pundit last week? Laughable.
Imagine your club is in a cup final and they say to you, "You've got so little to do with this, you can go and commentate on it." That's fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the punditry I do like. I don't know if you got the punditry after the FA Cup game last night. Kane absolutely taking Cole and right apart about West Ham was absolutely glorious. I threw a short up there on the channel this morning about it, and it went off the Richter. I think it got 1,500 or 2,000 views or something like that. It was deadly. So good. But Mark is in. Let's talk Mark. Mark's back line. De Gea, Wan-Bissaka on form now. Van Dijk, Martinez, Shaw, spot on. Yeah. Acer's back in. Mo has scored 20 goals in all competitions this season. He has. But if you go and you drill down into it and you look at the gap between when goals happen and stuff like that, and when he's off form, and also his performances against the lower part of the division as well have been very, very poor.
And the other thing I would like to say is on the goal thing, and we've spoken about this before, goals are a commodity in their own, but they don't necessarily show you the whole picture. I would say, and I think anyone that watches him week to week would say, the boy Haaland's not having a great season. But when you see 33 goals, all of a sudden you go, "Whoa, he must be amazing." If anyone's watched him week to week, he's been shocking at times. Absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
His involvement, his all-round play, his hold-up play, he does supply that really, really valuable commodity, though, which is goals. And, he gets himself into positions where his goals, like he's not scoring worldies week to week. Everything he scores is a tap in.
Last night was off the knee. Last night was off the knee.
So there's lots of that. And I wouldn't say that means that he's having, whereas with Salah as well, you see the numbers are there. But like you said, Noel, when you go a little bit further and you watch the performances and you see him and you go, this guy's miles away from what standards he's set in the last few years,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the benchmark, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mark back in with his midfield, Bruno, Casemiro, and Fred. Yeah, okay. That's a shout. And up front, he's going with us, Rashford, Salah, and Núñez. So
he's gone with the exact same team as me. I didn't think he'd be far away.
Yeah,
because I know myself and Marky, we think a similar sort of a way.
Acers, Gakpo, anytime goal scorer, and Liverpool to win will yield you probably a very good price. I wonder, is he going to even start with Cody? I wonder. Interesting.
I was a bit upset he didn't start with him last night because I had him in my fancy football team.
Yep. Good night to you as well, Henry. Cheers for tuning in, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Henry. Appreciate it, brother. Thanks for the support.
Absolutely. And Acers is in Kanate versus Rashford on Sunday is where this game will be won or lost.
Is Kanate back?
Yeah, Kanate played last night. Actually, he had a solid enough game, to be honest. That partnership of him and Van Dijk brings a kind of a calmness to the back line.
Will he, with that being his first game last night, though, will he be ready for, or will he go with Matip?
No, he'll definitely go. He'll definitely go with Kanate, because what's been happening with these players, Darren, if you look at it, the lack of confidence that's been in there. You've had players now that are so focused on worrying about who's beside them. We spoke about it before, that they're not concentrating on their own position. Where if you look at Kanate, he just brings a kind of a calmness to that back line and a confidence, if you like. He's in there now. He hasn't really been heavily involved this season, especially in some of the really bad games and stuff like that. So his confidence won't be lacking. He was solid enough last night now, and that partnership with him and Van Dijk is, to me, that's our number one partnership. At centre back, to be honest. So yeah, I think he'd be in and he'd be up for it, and I think he got minutes last night, which will have done him the world of good and stuff like that. But he looked solid all night last night. Konate versus Rashford, yeah, maybe might be a combination of more than that, you know. If Rashford is operating on the left, who's he up against? He's up against Trent as well.
He's up against Trent, but Konate plays at the right side at centre back.
Yeah.
So it would be him, because when he drifts inside the lines, that's
where when he cuts in to try and do that
Trent
movement.
Yeah, you know, and I think, like, you know, that's where United they're gonna look at, and they're gonna say, okay, we know of this back four, the weak link is gonna be in between that right centre back position and that right back position. You know, because obviously Trent, he gets so far forward, and with Rashford being in the kind of form he's been in, he's going to look to get down that side and obviously get back in onto that right foot and get shots off as much as he can. I think Konate is a super footballer, really, really super footballer. And I think it would give me a lot more hope if I was a Liverpool fan, knowing that he's going to play on Sunday, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Morris back in as well. Do you think it's plausible for Eric Ten Hag and Klopp to share a joint after the game? Like as in a Sunday roast, or...
Don't think it's the kind of joint he's talking about.
I wouldn't have thought so.
The Jamaican Woodbines.
Absolutely. Give us your prediction for the game.
I'm mildly confident, and as I said to you, anything can happen in this game. This game can jump up and bite you in the knackers real easy, you know, when you think you have it sussed. But I think we look like we're a little bit ahead of where you guys are at the minute. We've obviously got the confidence of knowing that we beat us already at Old Trafford this season, and that we've just been doing enough to get through games and get wins and pick up, you know, results and stuff like that. I'm going to go 2-1 United. I think it'll be 2-0. And I think Liverpool will get something late on, and we'll have to weather a storm to get out with the result. That's my prediction, and I think we'll hang on and just win 2-1.
Interesting. Morris reckons 3-3, and Azers he means Trent dreadlocks. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do you know what it is? It's very hard for me to predict this. I will be doing a preview show tomorrow night, by the way, folks, at 8:00, where we will go in depth on the game and stuff like that. We bring you the latest team news, predictions, and all that kind of betting and stuff like that, all that good stuff we do. But for me, the selection in the midfield is what's going to define this game, because Casemiro, to me, unless you're going to have someone in there who's going to be capable of dealing with Casemiro, I think you're going to have a major problem, because he crops up for goals. He's generally, when he's tracking back, he's the last man back for saving tackles and everything else. For a guy of his age, and when you think about the amount of ball this guy has played in his career, for him to be still able to put in the mileage that he puts in and be key in his understanding of the game and his cleverness of what's about to unfold, that's the one that's key for me. And at the moment, if you look at our midfield, that's where I think we might have a problem.
And he's been phenomenal. Like it's really a revelation, with how good he's been, you know. And I think he's obviously brought others along beside him. I thought at one stage him and Eriksen were a great combination, and now I'm looking at him going, like, him and Fred are just unbelievable. One sits, one goes, one presses, one stands back. Then Casemiro goes and Fred sits in the position and goes, you go and win them headers at the cross and the corners. I'll sit here because I'm not gonna win them, and I'll try and clean up and do that dirty work until you get back in, and then I can go and do the dog work again. I just think it worked really well as a pair and as a tandem. Now, with that in mind, I actually don't think he'll start Fred on Sunday.
Okay.
I personally think he'll start with Casemiro and Sabitzer, because I think he'll try and, wrestle that midfield away from Liverpool. And I think then in the last maybe 30 to 25 minutes, you'll see him insert Fred with that
tactical
high energy.
Tactical change.
Right, where he takes Sabitzer out maybe, or maybe as he's done previously, which is he takes actually Anthony out, pushes Bruno wide, and then and goes a little bit narrower on that side and allows Fred to push up and press behind Rashford and brings Garnacho on the left.
Yeah, interesting. Our resident ref has gone 3-1 United, and Morris is back in. Any Mason Mount updates? No, I heard there's still talk of him being linked with us and stuff like that. No, and he's still stalling on the contract and stuff like that.
That's not great.
And Morris back in. Liam, that should be Cooper, not Copper. I'm still level on goals with Aubameyang. Real Madrid have more goals than Chelsea.
Dealing 11.
And Ace is back in. I think United are looking so tired at the moment. West Ham were absolutely pony up front last night. Liverpool strike force would destroy United back line. I think that's a
happy days.
Yeah,
happy days, because you know what that means.
It means bad. The opposite's going to happen.
Up like aces.
Yeah, it means
absolutely. Oh man. This guy doesn't have a mouth. He's got a trapdoor.
He has the bucket off the head now. He's all.
Oh, he has it good, man.
Yeah, the bucket's off the head.
And he's feeling a little more like himself these days.
Oh, he's back to himself again. Yeah, the eyes aren't as glassy, and he's all good now. Good. Yeah, I don't think. First of all, I don't think United are looking tired whatsoever. And I think that was shown last night in terms of, for 70 minutes, West Ham were doing that thing. But then look who was tired after 70 minutes, and it certainly wasn't Man United.
And listen, when you're able to bring guys off the bench and have an impact like that, I think that's the one thing that's been phenomenal for me this season is every time he makes a substitution, someone comes on the pitch and either scores or creates a goal, and you're going, every time? This is ridiculous, And we still got, we're going to start with Anthony. We're going to start with Rashford. We're going to start with Weghorst. You've got Sancho and Garnacho to come off the bench in there. You've possibly got Fred to come into that midfield. You may have Maguire to come in and play as a third centre-back if Liverpool are trying to get the ball in the box towards the end. You've Malacia, you've Wan-Bissaka or Dalot. There's lots
the Spanish Anthony Gordon.
Telling you. Argentinian,
Oh, is he? Is that what he is?
Yeah, Garnacho's Argentinian, yeah.
Oh, is he? Yeah, the Argentinian, Anthony Gordon, and absolutely. But I don't think that's the case, Acers, at all. And another thing I'd put out there, there hasn't been too many teams this season that has destroyed United's back line. Let's be honest here. Only
City did it. City did it in the Etihad.
Yeah,
and Brentford did it. And other than that, they're the only two teams all season that done
it. It tends to be times when you either don't have Varane or you don't have Martinez. When you have both of them, then it kind of just doesn't happen. And Morris is back in. Connor Salmon has more goals than Aubameyang this year. He's on the third at the moment. Let's get into our beat the bookie then. Let's drop our picks.
I have them all ready for you. Because I know I let you down over the last few weeks. So I said last night, came home, I said, you know what? I need to get these bets done for tomorrow night for my pal Niall. So because I have them done, I'm going to get out of the blocks with these, right? I've got 3 for you. Yeah?
Nice. Yeah.
I've done, and we'll go incrementally with the prices, right? So we'll start off. First one is just a nice little straight accumulator. It's Forest at home to Everton. It's Leicester away at Southampton. It's Brighton at home at West Ham. And it's Chelsea at home at Leeds. Straight accumulator, 20-1.
So you went with Chelsea, Brighton,
Leicester and Forest.
Okay. Interesting.
20-1. Straight up, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. My next one is an anytime goal scorer. I've gone with the big boys this week. I've gone with Erling Haaland against Newcastle.
Yeah.
I've gone with Harry Kane against Wolves.
Okay.
I've gone with João Felix at home against Leeds. And my cherry on the top is Marcus Rashford up against Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah.
I couldn't leave him out. I couldn't leave him out.
You can't be leaving Rashford out of an anytime goal scorer at the moment.
Can't leave him out. And that one, Niall, that one brings in 30-1.
Nice. João Felix is a good pick there as well after picking up goal of the month for February for Chelsea, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
So he'll be boy out boy that. Can you believe that? 1 goal for the whole month.
Dreadful.
Like, it's just
dreadful.
Well, you think Real Madrid came to us and scored 5 on English soil?
Yeah, no, it's shocking.
It's just
Niall, I want you to look at your clock right now.
Yeah.
And I want you to time and date this, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's 10:37 on Thursday, the 2nd of March.
Yeah. This is a retirement bet, is it? This is a retirement bet, is it? Okay,
right. You ready?
This is the lotto numbers.
Well, for what we're asking for here, we're not asking for huge things here. And we're being paid handsomely. Villa and both to score.
Okay.
Leicester and both to score. Spurs and both to score. 100-1.
Nice. I have a similar one for you like that. But I only
100-1.
Yeah. There's some good prices there in the both to scoring result. There's some really good prices.
100-1, man. Wow. I fancy all 3 teams, and all they need to do is score 2 and concede 1.
That was earlier on in the season, wasn't it? That wouldn't be happening now.
Yeah, but I think beating a team and then what was the phrase he used?
Destroy.
I think destroy is a bit of a stretch now.
The Man United from the Brentford and Brighton game is not the same Man United. And if you think that Man United is still alive, you're foolish to think it, Acers.
But we lost 2-1 to Brighton. So yeah. I don't see too many 2-1 destructions. And if I'm right, we'd also a goal given out through VAR, which would have levelled the game.
We do like VAR.
We sure do.
They're your 3 bets?
They're my 3 bets. Easy as pie.
Yeah, I didn't quite match you for odds. I did do a Liverpool United bet builder, so I'll give you that shortly. But I did a straight up accumulator as well. I went with Man City, Arsenal, Brighton, and Leicester, 8-1. Not great odds.
Man City, Arsenal, Brighton, and Leicester. Well, you Brighton and Leicester. I had both of them, right?
Yeah.
And I just had 2 shittier teams, Chelsea and
yeah, Man City and Arsenal are the obvious ones to plug into your accumulator, really.
Well, are they though, with how shit the odds are? See, I've gone for Forest and Chelsea, and all of a sudden I've gone from 8 to 20s. Do you know? I'm looking for value. 8-1. I'm probably not having a bet at 8-1. I won't lie.
I'm still concerned, as I spoke earlier. I would be still concerned about that Chelsea Leeds game. I know you're not, but I still would be. Although I do have them in my later bet, but I still express a little bit of concern on it. But I did a treble as well of draws, and I did Aston Villa.
You do like 3 draws, don't you?
I do like the draws, yeah, I do, because they give you these odds. Now this one wasn't huge this week either, but Aston Villa Palace was my first one. And then I went with Forest and Everton, and I rounded out with the one that you called on Monday night, Brentford and Fulham, to draw 18-1. It's not huge for three draws. Yeah, it's not huge for 3 draws, but it's probably symptomatic of where the 6 teams are at somewhat, to a point. So I'll give you the bet builder, and then I did both teams to score and result your favorite bet. So, and I'll give you my one, and my one is it's decent odds as well now, and kind of not a stretch, although I'm kind of contradicting myself a little bit here. The bet builder I did for Liverpool Man United, I did a draw. I do like sitting
both teams to score.
Both teams to score. I went a little bit down this week, over 1.5 goals. I do expect it to be tight, unless we just absolutely capitulate. There's a lot to happen in this, though, because I threw in a penalty to be scored.
Right.
There's always a little bit of controversial refereeing in these games.
Sure is.
About it. And that gives you 16 to 1. It's not a huge price either, but I did go. No. You know, it was kind of modest, you know. And then my treble for both teams to score and result. I did have Tottenham in there, so I matched it with Tottenham that you had. I have Brighton in there, and I rounded it out with Chelsea, because surely in your thinking and my thinking as well, somewhat Chelsea kind of have to come good, don't they? It has to work for them eventually, doesn't it?
I think so. But
on the basis of all 3 teams are also giving away goals at the moment, I thought it was good to insert it into the both teams to score bet as well. And that gives you 60 to 1. So not too shabby. Not too shabby. So there's definitely money to be made this weekend in both teams to score and result. Looking at the way the fixtures have landed.
Sure is, isn't there? I'm looking for some bets we had last weekend for the Carabao Cup final.
There's in the comments anyway. He says, Dazzler, he's taking your third bet. Your third bet was the both teams to score and result.
Yeah, sure was. Yeah, 100 to 1. I think it's a great bet, man. Yeah, I sure do.
And Morris is here. Morris sends me his bets every week. We always have a bit of crack, me and Morris. Morris got a good bet up there at the weekend, actually, last weekend. I think he was waiting just on Napoli, and they went on a tear to cash it in, and he made a few quid. Is the top players in the league, one, Rashford,
Saka, and
Shelby.
No.
That's more like shelved than Shelby. And he came back with the top 3 players in the league. Yeah. Certainly Rashford.
I'll give you two little nearly moments we had this week. So the first one was I did an accumulator last weekend. I have the picture of it here because I sent it to Morris during the week. So on the accumulator was Leeds. They beat Southampton 1-0. I had Arsenal, they beat Leicester 1-0. I had West Ham, they beat Forest 4-0. I had Man City, they beat Bournemouth 4-1. I had Luton, they beat Birmingham 1-0. I had Reading, they beat Blackpool, El Marquis Blackpool 3-1. And my 7th and final team was Hull, and they lost 1-0 at Bristol City, and that was for 850 quid.
Do you know what let me down? I did a championship bet last week, and I don't normally do it.
You sure don't?
I got 4 out of the 5 up, so I thought I was on to a winner. But you know where I made the mistake?
Go on.
QPR were playing Blackburn. And
that's right. Blackburn won 2-1, didn't they?
3-1 or something like that, yeah. But I picked QPR for my sins. I stupid move. Didn't cop it.
We did bet builders on Sunday for the cup final, and we both had 5 legs each. I did one and Andrew did one because he came down on Sunday rather than Saturday to watch the game. So his bet builder from Sunday was United to win.
Yeah.
Over 1.5 goals.
Yeah.
Casemiro to be booked.
Okay.
Rashford to score any time. The goal was credited to Rashford.
Yeah.
It wasn't on Sunday, but it was on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only leg that let him down was he had Miguel Almiron to have a shot on target in 90 minutes.
That straight
and that
away was
was
going to dry, I bet.
and that was 40-1 as a bet builder. And the only thing he missed out on was Almiron. And the only two Newcastle players to get a shot on target, I think, were St. Maxima and I think Fabian Schär, maybe.
Schär, I
Something
think
like
it
that.
was, yeah. Schär or Dan Burn or something like that, yeah.
Something like that. But he was one away from the 40-1 winner. Oh, he was gutted. He was gutted.
Marky, our resident referee, has dropped his banker in for the weekend. I'm doing a $5 each way on Greg and Fitzer to go at it on Sunday. Who was the $5 each way on though? Who are you going for, Marky?
No, he's just having a $5 each way that it's going to happen. He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong.
I know they've been quite cordial recently. I would
cordial. I like that. Yeah,
cordial. Let's finish out quick one. FA Cup quarter-final draw.
Yeah,
Company versus Pep. That should be interesting, shouldn't it?
Should, yeah. He'll probably get a very, very good reception going back there. He's done very well at Burnley. I think we beat them in the quarter-final of the Carabao, if I'm right. And then we beat Forest in the semi. And
yeah, they were very poor against you that night, weren't they, remember?
Yeah. And then now, obviously, they're going to the quarter-final of the FA Cup against the other Manchester club, plus they're 5 or 6 clear at the top of the championship. So Vincent Kompany is doing a superb job at Burnley at the minute. A really, really good job, which can't be underestimated, you know. It was a little bit of a shocker to see Burnley go down that route. Obviously, when you lose someone like Sean Dyche, you're looking at, you know, who do you bring in to replace a guy like that? I don't think Kompany was necessarily the fans' choice, or he was the choice of a lot of people around the club, but that's where they went, and I think he's been phenomenal. From the scouting they've done at Burnley and the players they've picked up has been really, really good. You know, and they've played some super football. They really have. Now, I don't think they'll get out now the City, but I think they'll get he'll get a good reception, and they might get on the scoreboard. You never know.
Interesting. Morris with a comment there. Would you take Richarlison at United, Darren?
Yes.
Interesting. And
we could play Marcus through the middle. Yeah, we could play Marcus through the middle and play Rashford from the left hand side. Sorry, we could play Rashford through the middle and play Richarlison from the left hand side. And I think if you look at what Ten Hag has done with Casemiro, with Fred, and with Anthony, you wouldn't bet against him doing something with Richarlison. And we know the kid has talent and ability. He showed it at the World Cup. He's a real footballer. Most players that struggle at Spurs, look at Heung-min Son, struggling there at the minute. We know, again, he's a top footballer. But it's not a great environment if you want to be a top footballer playing at Spurs, because they are absolute horseshit. And, you know, the Italian Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, he needs to go get fucked as well.
Well, he's missing in action, isn't he? He hasn't been around for these games. So,
yeah, he's making a lot of the decisions, though.
The only thing I would say, he's probably delighted he moved to Spurs and got away from Everton. That's the only thing. That's the only upside. Kompany to be the next Everton manager? I don't think so, because he'll probably come up with Burnley. He'll hardly want to go down with Everton.
But you know what? I think if Everton stayed in the league, it would be phenomenal business if they could go and get him. Phenomenal. Now, the one, and I will preface this by saying, I don't think Manchester City are going to get rid of Vincent, or are going to get rid of Pep Guardiola very soon. But if they did, I think Kompany would be on their list. I think Kompany and what he's done right now at Burnley would be in the conversation for the City job if Guardiola left tomorrow. Me personally, you know, quarter-final of the FA Cup, quarter-final of the Carabao Cup, 6 points clear in the league. You know, he's worked off a really low budget. The football Burnley play is phenomenal. He's a coach. He's not a manager. He's a coach. He's very, very good. He's doing a phenomenal job there at Burnley.
Marta shouting for Veghorst and Richarlison up top. Don't think so. We'd be more tactical than that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but don't forget, the boy Weghorst is absolutely unbelievable. And this is where we look at performances versus goals. You know, like you look at last night, 95th minute, he's still pressing from the front. He coughs up, he gets with the West Ham defender to cough up the ball, and Fred knocks it in. You know, his work rate is phenomenal, and it has been. And he's played, you know, he's been the cog in the wheel at United. He's played the Roberto Firmino role for me, which was to enable the guys around him to showcase their talents. And that's what he's done.
Not an easy role to play. Not an easy role for a footballer to play.
Because you've got to be selfless. And there's not many footballers, especially guys who like to play up that end of the pitch, that can give of themselves like that. And it's a talent on its own. But I personally think it's a no-brainer to keep Weghorst next season. It's a no-brainer.
Hey, so
I think
next summer.
I think if we are looking to bring in a number 9, an out-and-out number 9, a goal scorer, a Harry Kane, a Victor Osimhen, a Benjamin Sesko, somebody like that, then we should bring in Wout Weghorst as the number 2 and get rid of Anthony Martial, who's not, you know, physical enough for the demands of the Premier League. We should get rid of Martial, and if we could get the 15 to 20 million that it will cost us to get Weghorst out of Burnley, get it, 1 out, 1 in, job done, buy a new centre forward, and we move on to squads in a better space.
Interesting, yeah. Marky, shout out to Evan Ferguson. Absolutely, he's tearing it up.
Absolutely, yeah, flying. Right, flying.
And Mark back in as well. And also, best of luck to League of Ireland women's team kicking off their season this week. Yeah, absolutely. And Ted's back in. Why isn't Wazza on people's lists after what he did with Derby?
Well, obviously, he was on lists. He was definitely on lists. But the problem was when you take a step like going back to the US, that's a step backwards, because the job he did at Derby was a phenomenal job.
It's out of sight, out of mind, isn't it? Out of sight, out of mind.
I personally think he'd have been better off staying at Derby, right? Getting them back up from League One, making them a force in the Championship, and then he'd have got a move. He should have possibly got the Everton job. You know, but certainly I think the big problem is when you go to the States, people just have such an attitude towards MLS football that, you know, it's like League of Ireland, isn't it? Really, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's what it is. It's probably, it should be more your end game than your spring of your career, if you like, springing you into something. You know what I mean? It's you don't hear a lot of stuff coming back from there. It's more that's where you go, more so than where you come back.
That's where you go when you're on your last 5 years and you want a nice little bump in the old pension. And a pension proper is what we call it, yeah. And there's no harm in that. Players have done that for years. You know, look at Ronaldo gone off to prop up his pension in Saudi Arabia with the Camels. He got a bit of a hump there, didn't he? But sure, listen, what can you do? But yeah, Rooney's gone there too soon, and he's damaged his own credibility, I would say.
Yeah. Acer's Del Boy live at Shelbourne versus Bohemian tomorrow night. Yeah, Del Boy Gunner TV. He's covering some of the League of Ireland stuff at the moment, which is pretty cool. Like, he was over. As
if watching Arsenal games wasn't bad enough, now he's watching fucking Shells and Balls. He was over
at the Everton game last night, mixing it up with AFTV as well. Pretty cool, some of the stuff that he put up. And I
wonder, is he listening? Derek, if you're listening, there's good news afoot. Tuesday week, first day at Cheltenham, the Donomede Inn is back open. You'll thank me for it.
GP Productions podcast. Ericsson leaves Spurs, dies, comes back to life, and still wins a trophy before Spurs do. Look, Ericsson's son, if he has a son, will probably win a trophy before Spurs do, so it doesn't really matter. Let's leave it with this. FA Cup, great to see some of the teams from the Championship and stuff like that being in there, and the lower league, if you like. Great to see them in there mixing it up and stuff like that. You've Burnley, Grimsby, Blackburn, Sheffield United as well, and we're guaranteed a team through to the semis as well, which is pretty cool with United facing Blackburn. So it's good to see the championship and those divisions being represented in the FA Cup.
The four home teams will win there.
Ted's in with the blood, fam stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And Dar back in. Donamead in, my local. Dar's local is the Donamead in. There you go, Dar.
There you go, Dar.
Probably, I would say, not frequenting it for
myself.
Cheltenham, though.
I'm not that far from it myself, yeah.
That's it. Another show in the bag. We roll on into the weekend. As I said, I will be previewing Liverpool Man United tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. If anyone wants to join me or jump in the chat or whatever it is, we'll follow our bets throughout the weekend. I will be on as well for a match reaction after that match on Sunday evening. It's probably a 4:30 kickoff, so probably around 6:30 or so.
It's 4:30 kickoff, so you're probably talking 7 o'clock.
I won't be that late. I do be on pretty quick these days now. Get it done.
Do
you know?
Do you not let yourself settle first?
No, instant match reaction. I don't let myself settle at all. The only time sometimes they come out a bit later or they settle is because someone has asked me to go onto their channels. So I'm reacting on their channels for about 15-20 minutes before I go onto my own. But you need that instant match reaction. You can't let things cool down when it comes to a boil, you know. Dazzler live after the game on Sunday. We'll see. Depends what way it goes.
We'll have to see what. Well, no, listen. My only issue on a Sunday is I have to see how many kids are jumping on my head. Other than that, like I'm always around and available.
We'll talk to Dazzler's agent and see if he's available.
Yeah, we might have to. You might have to have Andrew and Brody on here with me. That's the only problem.
Ted, we doing a live watch along of the United Liverpool game. Be an instant ban with Greg and Dino, but be seriously entertaining. Yeah,
sure would,
first of all, to get 4 or 5 of us on the same minute in that game would be a stretch. Near alone reacting to it and stuff like that. Lord, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I value my channel, Ted, more than that. I don't want to lose my channel. Listen, folks, another stellar show. Thanks for joining us tonight. As always, subscribe to the channel and all the channels in the chat, of course. Give them all your support. Thank you to everyone in the chat who was on the show tonight.
Who's Stella? Was she on Monday night when I wasn't here?
Stella?
Yeah, I thought you said another Stella show.
Yeah, it was the bear. It was the bear. Stella. Yeah, well, there you go. As always, folks, a pleasure bringing you these shows. So if you could subscribe and hit that bell notification, drop a like on the video as well. Really important to us on the way out. Don't let the door hit you. Make sure you hit that like button. As I said, I will be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with a preview for the big game. And until then, have a safe weekend. I hope results go in your way for whoever you follow, so long as it's not Man United.
I hope they don't go in your way.
Absolutely. Cheers, folks. Cheers,
I hope you get bent over and have your pants taken down.
That happened already tonight, but we're not getting into that. Till next time, folks. A pleasure.